Done deal there, Stevie.
Yeah.
What's next if you're in charge?
Centre forward.
Centre forward?
Yeah.
Okay. And where do we stand on that, Jules?
So that's the position that they are looking at, like Stevie just said. They are focusing more on the left back right now and try to sort this out. They've done Frimpong. This is done, as we said. Now the left back is a key area for them to strengthen, because the number 9 will come also once people have left. So we expect Darwin Núñez to go. I think Luis Diaz will stay. Jota will probably stay, but you still another body there. But left back right now, it seems to be where they are the most active, whether it's Kerkers, and the talks we believe at ESPN are ongoing with Bournemouth, although they feel that the valuation of Bournemouth for Kerkers at £45 million is a lot of money for a left back, which is understandable, although we've seen, Frimpong is a different case because he's, as we say, it's a bit cheaper. But usually you count between 40 and 50 million for fullbacks even now, to be fair. So Kerkers is that. If Kerkers is not for them, if they think he's too expensive, for example, they've got other players that are on the shortlist, like Atto at Ajax, that Mario knows well, even like a Robinson at Fulham. There's a couple more in Spain and in Portugal that they are interested in, but Kerkers remains the number 1. But then the number 9 will also be on the table, and they're hoping to do a deal there at some point too. Plus Florian Wirtz, of course.
Wow.
So Jules, how close is, or how, is there really an opportunity for Liverpool to sign Florian Wirtz? Because if they do, then I would guess then you stick with Diaz or Gakpo going through the middle. But how realistic is Liverpool getting Wirtz?
I think it's a great question, and I'm not sure really. I just, can they really spend 150 million on his transfer fee plus another 100 million on his wages for the next 5 years? I'm not sure. I'm not saying he's not worth it. Of course, I mean, he's worth what people are going to pay for him. But this is the valuation from Bayer Leverkusen. Yeah, okay, he's a wonderful player, but that seems to be a lot of what Liverpool budget will be this summer for their transfers. So if all it goes on Wirtz, what do you do with the number 9? What do you do with your left back? What do you do if you want maybe to strengthen in midfield? I don't know. Or if you lose Chiesa and maybe Diaz or somebody like that, if there's no money left, if you want another centre back, for example, what do you do? So it seems a lot of money to invest in just one player, even if he's a great player this summer for Liverpool or for anybody else, really.
Would you put all your eggs in a Wirtz basket?
No.
Why?
Well, because I think for the reasons that Jules is talking about, you have to make decisions based on the big picture. You can't just think to yourself, well, we're getting a great player, which you are.
Right.
But then if that's going to affect you on the other side of the ball, then all the benefits of having Wirtz, you kind of take a little bit away. So, yeah, I would personally prefer to get 2 fullbacks and get a centre forward for the 150 that they want for him.
Well, we've got the whole summer, haven't we, to speculate about who will be going to the Premier League champions. Meanwhile, shorter term in England, it's all about who's going to finish in the top 5. This is how things look after the weekend's play. Newcastle, of course, losing against Arsenal. We saw Chelsea beat United. Villa, of course, as well, with that victory against Spurs. For Manchester City, they were in the FA Cup final. They lost that against Crystal Palace. Quick turnaround. They're in action tomorrow, in action on Tuesday, as they take on Bournemouth. Fate, though, very much in their own hands. If they win those remaining 2 games against Bournemouth and Fulham, then they'll be guaranteed Champions League football next season. Just to confirm, shall we take a look at all these different permutations with regards to who is playing who in these remaining matches. Chelsea against Nottingham Forest, of course, is on the final day. We got that? Let's see. Oh, no, we don't have that. Okay, that's all right. It's not that important. As we welcome in Mario, Nedum and Jules are back with us. Nedum, I suppose from a Manchester City perspective, fate in your own hands, 2 wins, guaranteed Champions League, no problem, no?
I think they'd rather have it in their own hands than have to be looking over their shoulders to see what other teams are doing. But I think the funny thing about it is, they were on this good run where I think it was 9 games unbeaten. But then that 0-0 draw at Southampton, just what a sudden shock of reality. Oh my goodness, what is this? This is a team that lose to everybody, and then you can't score against them and make that 2 games in a row, including the cup final. But as you said, it's in their hands.
Yeah.
The game tomorrow, it's the last game at home. They want to take the 3 points from there and then go and travel down to Fulham and hopefully get the job done there. one thing they have in their favour, you know, they've got a really good goal difference, and they're still favourites to finish in third position. Obviously, they wanted to go for the league title, but they can still finish at the top of this race for the top 5 as such. So, it's not a great position that they're in. It's not one that we're used to seeing them be in, but these are 2 massive games for them, and it's going to be tough to bet against them because you know they have the ability to get over the line. If they don't make it into the Champions League next year, I think for me it will be a huge shock with the 2 games that they have here, because it probably means there was a crisis tomorrow against Bournemouth, and then that last game away at Fulham. If they couldn't get the job done there, knowing that all they needed potentially, according to those numbers, I think 4 points would probably guarantee them top 5 as well. So say if they do win against Bournemouth and then they lose at Fulham, they'll absolutely not be deserving of being in the Champions League places anyway. So I believe in them, lots of other people do. And for those players, can they recover from the disappointment of Saturday and finish off the season well in this last week now?
Mario, I'm not putting any money anywhere near Manchester City, given what we've seen over recent weeks. They come into this tie, obviously, off the back of that disappointing FA Cup loss. What say you? Can they regroup? Can they get things going for these last 2 games of the season? Because they've been so weird, this campaign.
Yeah, I think for Pep, what's very important is that people started to understand the way he wants to play, and I think he is very creative as a coach. He always comes up with new things, right? Because the inverted, right back and left back, all those things he created. You understand how you pack the midfield even more. All those little tricks he came with, but now it's almost like everybody's answering it, and so he has to come up with something new. Do I still think that he can get his team into the Champions League? Yeah, just like Nedum said, it won't be easy, no, but it's never, for none of them it's going to be easy. But I do still, he has the quality and the players that can do it. The only thing sometimes is that, does the team has the same motivation? Because that is going to be the biggest question, because those games are almost like finals for them, because the teams that play against them really want to win against them. And I think that is why it's going to be very important for them, regardless if things are going up and down for them. That is really key.
This is tough, man, to pick. I think.
Isn't it weird? This is how embarrassing Manchester City are these days, Nedum. We can't guarantee they can beat Bournemouth and Fulham to get in the top 5.
You can't trust them.
No.
I think Newcastle win at home.
Yeah.
I think Villa win at Man United. I think Forest and Chelsea draw. And I think City will sneak it. But I say that, but I'm really not sure about City. I think they'll beat Bournemouth at home because they're at home. But, you know, Fulham showed on Saturday that they're not on the beach.
No.
Beating Brentford away 3-2. So, I kind of, if there's one team I worry for, it's City. Because if either Chelsea or Forest win and City don't, or get beat against Fulham, I can actually see that happening. But right now, I'm kind of on the edge of Chelsea-Forest draw, and that knocks the 2 of them out.
Jules, obviously this is humiliating for Nedum's Manchester City if they don't get it done. However, financially, what sort of repercussions does this have as well when it comes to what they can do in the summer?
It is humiliating for Nedum, of course. No, I mean, financially, we've said that before, I think, but they're in good strength financially because they sold well. They have money in the bank. As we saw, they spent 180 million in January for players who don't play, apart from Omar Marmoush, but the others don't play. So they have the money. They still have money in the bank. But there's also the trial of the century. And at some point, we will find out what's happening with this, if City wins or not win, or the Premier League wins or doesn't win. It doesn't matter so much, but we will find out what's happening there. It's almost not so much for the money, but for the standing of Manchester City to be in the Champions League, especially with what might happen with that trial of the century and against the Premier League. So I think they need it. I think Pep needs it too after what was a draining season for him, as we saw after the FA Cup final as well. That I think it's a lot to take on. And it's in their own hands. Bournemouth, by the way, can still finish 8th. That might qualify them for Europe. Fulham can't do it anymore because of Brighton win tonight. So the Bournemouth game might be tricky, away of Fulham, maybe not so much. But I agree with everything we've said. It's not guaranteed. Nothing is guaranteed with them this season.
No, exactly. Plus, you throw into the fact that like, trying to get players, and you can't guarantee them Champions League football, you can't guarantee them Premier League football. Come the end of this trial, it's going to be tricky, isn't it, for the City getting the quality of the players that they need to get themselves back into that top-class echelon.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know what's happening.
I think they'll be all right.
You go on, Nedum.
No, I think they'll be all right, Dan. Respectfully, I think they'll be all right. I think as the FA Cup final was going on the Saturday, they obviously had those players on the pitch. You saw the bench, but then I also saw like the likes of Nathan Ake. There was John Stones. There was Kovacic. There was Rodri. And I thought, oh yeah, these guys are still to come back in. So even if they're not, those guys are potentially not going to be their absolute best straight away, they still make them more competitive because there have been spells in the season. I think it's the middle part of the season in particular where they were so stretched that we saw them, lose 6 games in a row, which is so uncharacteristic of them. And a lot of that was due to the fact that some of their mainstays were not there. But all of a sudden, some of those players can't even make a squad at this moment in time because the squad is as big as it is. So footballing-wise, those guys will be looking for the next season to have better health and to have better form. And there's no reason why they won't do that. And there's no guarantee that they'll win the league next year. But they'll probably put forward a better showing that we've seen throughout this entire season so far. So yeah, in terms of the money for going in the Champions League, the draw and so on and so forth, listen, I'm pretty sure they'll be fine. Like, obviously the trial, as Jules says, will sort of count, but it would have counted whether they won the league, won the Champions League, won whatever anyway. So the future perhaps is uncertain from that standpoint. But for those who can control the footballing side of things, it's still a great place to play with one of the best managers the Premier League's ever seen and some of the best players that still exist in this league now. So, as I say, I'm not too worried.